Oh, hello, everyone.
Oh, hello. So it's a big
Uh,
mail day.
it's a huge mail day here at the
Okay.
Sommerfield residence, okay?
What?
There's
Whoa.
not a lot of things to look forward to in quarantine
Except getting the mail.
except getting the mail, okay?
I
Let me
get
tell
I
you,
get I get emails that tell me what mail I'm going to get that day.
you
It's
told me about
really
that and it blew my mind.
it's exciting. It's it's the best
Because,
email of the morning. It's like, ooh, what's coming?
that's so wild because it is very cool, but it's also like a duplication of effort. Like,
Right.
they're already sending you the mail, and now they go out of their way to tell you they're sending you the mail.
We don't know what's inside of it because that would be a federal offense. But they do, it does say like, oh, it's going to be, bulk mail from Capital One or something from my landlord or, a stimulus check.
Wow.
Ooh. Yeah.
Well, we're never going to get another one of those. So sorry, UPS. You're not going to be sending that message anytime soon.
UPS.
UPS? Isn't it the United Postal Service?
USP. That's no. Well, the United States Postal Service is the USPS. UPS is a private, separate entity.
I have been getting mail wrong all this time.
That's why the post office is losing money because you've been going to UPS this whole time, thinking it was the post office.
I
Jesus.
have. Well, let me tell you about the mail I got today. I got a birthday card. It's not my birthday yet, but I got a birthday card for my family.
Oh, fun.
That was very nice.
Yeah.
I got a handwritten letter from a Jehovah's Witness.
I did not expect you to say that.
I didn't expect to find it, but it was there in my post office.
Do you know this person?
Nope, not at all. They wrote me a nice letter to tell me about heaven, and they were apologizing for not being able to come to my door because of COVID.
Oh, well, okay.
And they live on 157th Street. They wanted me to know I was their neighbor. And I'm just, how did I get on this mailing list? Because I've slammed the door in the face of many Jehovah Witnesses.
So wait, this was addressed to you, not just like resident at XYZ
Literally,
Street.
it was addressed to me and it was handwritten. I mean, it was not like a form letter, unless it's the trickiest form letter ever. I mean, it looked like, real, and it was long. I threw it out, but it was like 5 paragraphs. I mean, I can go get out of the garbage if we're that excited about it. I got that.
Okay.
I got my fancy new ring light.
I know what I have to do.
Everyone, I'm a ring boy now.
Wow.
Say hello to a ring boy.
Ooh.
You can say
in
ding
7
dong.
days.
The ring boy's here. I was just tired of looking like crap on this, YouTube podcast. I wanted to catch up and even surpass you.
I had one and it broke. It's not like I had one and I was doing a Zoom and it fell off the table and it broke. And so now I'm ringless and I just haven't sat down and pressed the button to get myself a new ring. Okay.
Well, the polls are in. I'm the hottie on this podcast now.
What?
That's what all the fans are saying.
Just because of a ring? Oh, right. I could give myself light. I could do it too. Wait.
If it's not ring light, don't even bother. Okay.
I could create. I've got the sun. Okay, that's the ultimate ring light.
Only with ring light do you get those popping eyes. Like, look at how popping my eyes.
I know the eyes are pretty good. Look, there we go.
But I also got something very cool in the mail besides the beautiful ring light. My absentee ballot. Hey, democracy.
Da da da.
It's still alive. It's still happening. The primary is still happening.
It's on life support, but it's still alive.
Yeah, it's definitely on life support. I mean, I'm voting for Bernie, of course, but what's
shocked.
The freaking point? Well, you should be shocked. I hope you're voting for Bernie too.
I haven't gotten my absentee ballot. I'm in this very Scarlett O'Hara. Like, well, I'll think about that tomorrow. About because I had signed up to be a poll worker for elections, And I have not received any information about June 23rd. I haven't received any information about if I'm stationed anywhere, if they need me, or what precautions they're going to be taking as far as like your protection, my protection, because the whole training was they use iPads, they have little stylus pens so you can like sign, but like now in the age of COVID, are you going to really have people like manhandling an iPad like over and over and over again? Like, how are you going to maintain cleanliness and all that kind of stuff? So yeah. But I'm like, that's it, 2 weeks. So I don't know.
Well, you better think about it, because you cannot get an absentee ballot if you don't request one by June 16th.
Oh, I know. Yeah. No, that I do know. Yeah, I was talking about something different. Yeah.
No, I know you were. I was listening. I always listening. I listen to your every word.
Hang
on your every word. But I just wanted to say that you still have time to order it, and you also can just order it online.
Yes, you can.
That's what I did. You go to elections.newyork.gov, voting absentee, and you order it. But I found out about that because they chose to send me a request, an absentee ballot letter, and they sent me 3 of them. And each of them was like 4 pages long, just to tell me that I could go to this website.
Oh, boy. See, it's that kind of, it's really hard for me to like, I really like, oh, democracy, and like, oh, we can work together, the system works. And it's like, why? Why are you sending out 3 letters that are 4 pages long, just saying like, hey, go to this website? Like, what are you doing? What's happening? Who thought that this was, but it does
really wild. And also, why not just send me a ballot? Just send me a ballot in the first place. We know it's going to be mail-in voting for New York. So
we hope we don't, so it's, oh boy. Yeah. But it gives the mailman, it keeps the letter carriers, delivering something.
Yeah, let's those UPS
who aren't from UPS. No, they're not from UPS.
But I'm very excited to vote. I'm going to vote Bernie. I hope that everyone will. The idea being that even though Joe Bumblin has gotten the nomination, it could give Bernie delegates. Although I have to say, with the way Bernie's been talking, I don't support him really much anymore.
And all you people turned on him. Just like.
That's because
like in the Lion King. It's like in the Lion King when all the hyenas then suddenly ate Scar. It was just like rah, 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 they all turned on him, and that's what all y'all have done. It's very weird to watch.
Because those hyenas wanted a policy. They wanted the kingdom to be under a policy of universal feeding.
Universal feed. Okay. All right.
That's what the hyenas wanted. I mean, because listen, as much as all the neoliberals out there wanted to smear every Bernie supporter as a cult member, which is insane because the Hillary people were way more cultish, it is to say that the majority of them were not in it for him. They were in it for his policies, and that's why the moment that he starts talking smack and saying like, we don't need to defund the police, then I'm like, get out of here, Bernie. Because
just because you've got a ring light doesn't mean that that you know what you're talking about when it comes to Bernie Sanders.
Everybody knows
he's a politician. He's always been a politician, and I think that's kind of like, it's been interesting to watch people be like, I can't believe Bernie said that. Like, of course he did, because he's a politician. Because that's what politicians do. One's friggin' perfect. No one's perfect. And it's like, and anybody who says anything that like the masses don't like are suddenly like, it's very like, bring out the guillotine off, and cut their heads off. And, and that's, I know that lots of folks really do love that sort of weird French Revolution aesthetic. But it didn't work out as planned. So I know everybody loves reboots, but
I don't know. It worked out as planned. They got rid of those darn bourbons.
But then the monarchy came back, or actually an authoritarian came back under Napoleon. So,
well, and then what? They conquered the whole freaking world. Okay.
Wow.
And you know what else they did? They brought in universal education for the first time. First time.
For someone who hates war so much, you sure do love that, don't you?
Well, that is funny. I do read about war constantly and play war games all the time.
You love all the Napoleonic conquerors. That.
I have a game called Napoleon where you try to conquer Europe, and I've played it many, many times.
Oh.
Well, they always say, the thing that people hate the most is the thing they're most obsessed with, So that's me to a T.
Wait, the thing you hate the most is the thing you're most obsessed with?
Yeah, that's like a thing people say.
That explains myself so much, that I love myself and hate myself at the same time.
Because you hate yourself so much, that's why you're obsessed with yourself?
Absolutely.
Makes sense.
Yep, it makes sense. That makes sense.
Well, one of the books that influenced my thinking very early on in college was a very odd book from a world progress series that they asked all these individual philosophers around the world to write a little book. And I got this book. It's called Evil and World Order. And it was it was by William Irwin Thompson, who is one of these sort of utopian people. He supported this sort of like communal living in Lindisfarne, which is an island in Scotland or England. I can't remember which side of the border it's on. Where people were trying this experimental anarcho-socialist living. And in the book, though, in his philosophy, he said...
So it's Wicker Man.
It's exactly like Wicker Man. It was the inspiration for Wicker Man.
Okay.
But in the book, he said this thing that stuck in my mind forever, which is you become what you hate. And I think about that all the time because I do see that in people, that when people often become the opposite of what they set out to be. Like, without getting too deep into it, talking about Hillary, I don't freaking know her. I don't know what she was like, but I think she had good intentions when she came to Washington, and she was like, I'm going to solve healthcare crisis, and I'm going to do these things. And yet she turns into the biggest lobbyist for healthcare. Like that's something that happens to all of our politicians, it seems. And, obviously it's happened to Mr. Bernard Sanders. He's turning into a darn neoliberal right in front of our eyes.
He hasn't turned into a neoliberal. He hasn't turned into a neoliberal at all. He's always remained very true to himself, which is, not true to anyone. And understanding that the biggest threat to our democracy right now happens to be the president at the moment. Like, putting that support to get him out is what's important. So sorry that it upsets y'all, but like that's actually really what's happening. He hasn't become what he hates. He's fucking 8,000 years old.
I think he's become what he hates. I think it has slowly seeped into him these past 2 election cycles, and he is
finally okay.
I saw a preview of his Halloween costume, and guess what it is?
It's Hillary Clinton.
Exactly, it's Hillary Clinton, and he's going to be prancing around. And bomb Iran, you know.
That's John McCain.
Hey, she gave him that line.
Oh, I'm sure she did. Of course.
They were hanging out in Rehoboth or wherever.
I saw Goody Clinton.
Anyway, so Bernie stinks.
I mean, it was only a matter of time. I mean, you have to, please be pragmatic about it. Be like, there's only a matter of time before all y'all would turn on him, right? Because this is the problem with purity tests. No matter what position you put anyone in, they can never and will never fulfill that role that you want it to be. And so you're ultimately always going to be upset. It's like finding out that Santa Claus isn't real. It's finding out that, oh gosh, our entire history is set on lies and white supremacy. No one is going to save us. We need to save ourselves. We can have allies, we can have advocates, we can have people who can fight for us, but we are the fighters. We need to fight for ourselves.
Well, I mean, I don't know how we fight if we can't even elect somebody who's going to do something marginally decent. Where
have you been for the past couple of weeks? People, like thousands of people, are out the streets. Everybody is now, re-examining all of these laws and like putting forward new proposals. And
I mean, that's such a nice, that's a very like. Sorry, I'm having trouble hearing. I don't want to cut you off. But I think it's a very. No, I was going to say that's a very nice. You're just doing this on purpose.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I think you want to be cynical about it because it fits your purview. I think we are in a moment where if we give in to that cynicism, then we're really screwed. But people want to do right, and I think we're going to run into circumstances of people feeling like that, like, go like anybody. My thing that I've been really following this week, which I find hysterical, is people's opinions on Gone with the Wind, where people are like, "It's our culture. How could you do that? Oh my God!" It's like it's a movie, but so that wanting to do right by everything might turn people off. But again, if people are turned off by something like that, then like they're assholes anyway. But no, I think this is a moment for actual, real, genuine, organic change. And I have been cynical for too long, and I do not wish to be cynical in the face of this moment.
Well, good for you. Maybe you'll rub off on me, but I doubt it. But also, the Gone with the Wind thing is so freaking stupid, though. I mean, yeah, it's a movie, so who freaking cares? But also, the idea that American citizens are so stupid that they would think that this was a realistic portrayal of any time period is bonkers.
Well, they do.
Bonkers.
It's interesting, because what I find very interesting about this controversy, in quotes, is because it's mostly driven by men, and men talking about this movie, men talking about its impact, men talking about its success. When the whole thing, from the very beginning, the book, the movie, it was always passed as a women's picture. Like, this is a thing for women, right? And at the center of its story is Scarlett O'Hara, Rhett Butler, Ashley Wilkes, but and like what it illuminates now, 80 years later, is this complicity of living in the antebellum South and being like all of it supported by slavery, and like none of it is addressed. It's like, how come they don't address it? It's like, that's not what the book's about, because these people are in this world, like they don't even care. Like, that's how evil and duplicitous they are. And Melanie is kind and wonderful and loving as she is. Like, she can't be that way without slaves. It's like, so it would be an interesting examination of how, in terms of like in tandem with what Southern life could be like for the woman of that gentry class that owned slaves. Like I would, or the role of women in, in 19th century America. But yeah, no, it's not an honest depiction at all. And anybody being like, but it's culture, what next? It's like, no, it's had 80 years. It's time to really just like everyone to just agree that this is nonsense, and this is not the definitely some kind of disclosure at the top being like, hey guys, we know.
I think I disagree. I think that's a very silly thing, because I think people should be able to make up their own minds about something like that.
I don't think slavery is something that anyone should make up their own minds. I mean, that's not something that when people are like, well, I don't know, they treated them well and they were like family. No, they weren't. Like, that's not true. This is a fictitious depiction.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's not true. And obviously everyone should be against slavery. That's a pretty basic default. But it's incredibly silly to take a piece of art and say, like, watch out, this isn't the truth. I mean, I just find that ridiculous, paternalistic, just silly. I mean, the movie itself is like cartoonish, I would say, in the way everyone behaves.
Well, it's a 1930s movie. It's a 1930s MGM Hollywood film. Like, that's what all of them are like that. But even there's a big difference between how Vivian Leigh and Clark Gable are portrayed versus Hattie McDaniel and Butterfly McQueen. Like, they are comic relief. And the fact that those actresses could take those roles and give it depth and give it, compassion, and you do love these characters, even though all these years you look back and you're like, oh God, like it's very cringy to watch those moments. And, but David O. Selznick was I think the reason why it has lasted this long is because in the book, like they use the N-word. There's everybody is in the Klan. Like, all these characters that we love, like Ashley and Red, like, they're in the KKK.
Well, yeah, there's a whole hero moment with it, right?
That's all. Yeah, but the KKK is never mentioned. It's a political meeting.
Right.
But it's used in the
it's
film
a meeting they go to.
Because it's the 1930s and you can't say that. So it's like, it's that kind of wink and a nod. Like, the tricks of old Hollywood of winks and nods, I think, are the reasons why it has lasted this long, because we've never had to, or white America, or the white world, white supremacist world has never had to actually, like, deal with it, because we're all complicit. We are all Scarlett O'Hara in that way in watching the movie, where, like, we take delight in the costumes and, like, the frivolity of it, like, but knowing that it's all predicated on the enslavement of others. And but I think that's, should be discussed,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I think a normal human being can watch a film and discuss stuff about it without being warned. But in that same cultural issue, we're seeing a lot of statues being torn down again, and we're seeing
which I think is
pushing for name changes. Yeah, I'm totally for that.
I think that's great.
I had a big debate with someone who is actually not from our country, but has lived here for a long time, and they just could not understand why people would want to destroy history. And I was like, well, this isn't even really history. This is not
history.
The real history is they came later.
Yeah, no, it's
But it was funny. Oh, go ahead.
When I was in Gettysburg last year, and which is the battlefield, but it's also a cemetery, of course. But, like, throughout the battlefield, there's all these monuments to the different regiments that fought during the war, but it's on different sides of where the Union Army was stationed, where the Confederacy was stationed. But, like, driving through the Confederate section, and all of these statues, or monuments, which were built in, like, I'd say, like, between 50 and 75 years after the war. So this is, like, in the 1930s, during Jim Crow, and it's all these, like, daughters of the Confederacy, of the glorious honor of the glorious dead, forgive the men who sacrificed themselves, and it's, like, all this crap. And it really, I mean, not that I didn't know this, but to, like, actually see this, because I'm a New Englander. I didn't grow up seeing statues of Robert E. Lee.
Yeah, me either. I'm a Northerner.
It's just that and after hearing people being really, like, bothered by these statues, outside of courts or in public squares, and being like, why is this here? Like, this entire country was founded upon the enslavement of others. Who in their right mind would pick up arms and fight someone else to defend that right? It just was really like, burn it all down. So ever since, I've been before I might be like, well, if they took down a statue, maybe it could be in a museum, maybe it could be like, in a special collection. But since that, I was just like, no, tear it down, melt it down. I don't care, smash it. So
yeah,
just,
I agree. I mean, it's
song, right?
absurd because those people not only were
Y'all
they
really are not
pro-slavery,
like
they were
Yikes.
also
Guys, the
rebels
original
to
name
this
of this
country
song
that we're
is
supposed
Old
to all
Zip
love.
Right.
And they
Actual
murdered
traitors.
fellow citizens.
in March
They
of
actually went out and murdered other
1917
citizens
by
so
Columbia
they could
Records,
keep murdering
and
and
it's now more
harming
commonly
people.
known as Turkey in the
Right.
Straw. So if you
It's
search
wild.
like
Of
children's
course,
songs,
people don't
you'll
see
find
it that way.
Turkey
They're
in the
raised
Straw.
in
But
different
its
ways. They're raised
original
with fake
lyrics were
histories and all sorts of different
"Nigga love a watermelon,
ways
ha
of
ha
doing
ha
it.
ha.
And
Nigga love a
I
watermelon,
do
ha
also
ha ha ha."
like that
And
they're
even the
getting at
graphics
Columbus,
for the
trying to
song,
take
its original Old Zip
Columbus
Crew had
down.
African American.
Yeah, I think
fake
that's
words.
great. It's just like in the context, because for years, lots of people tried to pass it off as like it's Italian pride, Italian heritage, and there's really no excuse anymore. There are there are so many other Italians from which any Italian American can derive pride and satisfaction. It's not like Italians aren't known for their contributions to society.
Exactly.
It's like
Mario, Luigi, those statues could be up everywhere.
that's not it. That's not a bit, no. But so those arguments don't hold up anymore, and I understand the context of Italian Americans in the early 20th century wanting to assimilate into American culture, to be considered like we're proud of ourselves and we come to this country and we work hard and see we are like you, but didn't have to be Columbus. And by choosing Columbus, it's like, oh God. But again, it's like this fake, inaccuracies that have been, thrown at us for
the majority of people in this country were taught just an incomplete history.
Right. And it's not even so much like, oh, Columbus was like, it's even fragmented from like, he's like in 1492 Columbus sailed the ocean blue, Nina Pinta Santa Maria, he discovered America, and so therefore people think, oh, he must be a good guy, he sailed for Spain, when like no, we don't know anything because we're not taught anything. We're only taught names and dates, and no one's ever because they don't want you to learn history, because if you learn history, you know exactly why people do the things they do, governments and people in power, and where things are going, because that's where they have gone before. And when you learn history as the story of society and cultures, you can piece things together and go, oh, that's why this person did this thing, and that's why this country did that, and that's why I love history. And it's not really emphasized in this country, if anything.
It's not. Else. I also think there's probably a thing that people have with history where they're like, well, we can't teach children about violence.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, that's probably a motivation for some of these dummies out there who are like, yeah, let's sanitize history. And, because people, when they talk about war, they'll talk about it in like numbers, and they'll talk about it in like good and bad people, but they don't talk about the horrific things that have happened in every single, I mean, imagine a medieval war where everyone's hitting each other with pieces of metal. I mean, what were people's bodies like after an event like that?
Oh, I know, exactly.
It's all left out, it's all, you see paintings of beautiful horses and knights fighting each other, and you're like, as a kid, you're like, yeah, but
the actual realities of like, you have 5 arrows that have shot through your chainmail, and now what are you gonna do? Like that? Yeah, that's pretty. That's not fun.
So I think to sum it up, I guess we'd say that reality is gross.
Right. And if you watch Gone with the Wind, know that
it's racist porn?
It's pretty much racist porn. But also, let's see, an interesting fact about Gone with the Wind. Tons of Hollywood actresses. Everybody wanted to play Scarlett O'Hara. when the book came out. This was like the biggest thing. Like the second the book came out, everyone was like, this has to be made into a motion picture. Oh, this is the, so it's like Clark Gable was automatic shoe-in for Rhett Butler. Everyone was like, we're okay with that. And Olivia de Havilland is Melanie, who is still alive, by the way. And everyone was like, that's acceptable. And Leslie Howard is Ashley. They're like, he's old, but okay. But then when it came to Scarlett, like Katharine Hepburn, Betty Davis, Claudette Colbert, who else? Pauline Goddard, like all these actresses. There's all these screen tests of all these different Hollywood actresses auditioning for Scarlett O'Hara. And Vivian Leigh was an English actress, and she came to LA. She was in Hollywood and, met David O. Selznick. She's just like, I'm going to be Scarlett O'Hara, father. And then she got it. So, and everyone was pissed off about that. But, this is how messed up Southerners are. Like, there was some Southerner journalist who was just like, at least it's not a Yankee. Because she's English. Yeah.
Well, if I ever want to know the history of my porn, I'll ask you.
Yeah, so what porn were you downloading earlier?
I was not downloading porn. I was downloading Zoom. I had to get a special Zoom to make this work.
Zoom
That's why
porn?
I was late.
Oh, yeah. All right. Okay.
But I think that's it for our time this week.
Yes.
It's been great talking to you.
Great talking to you too.
And until next time,
we have been left and correct.
And correct.